Nature operates without a blueprint, or perhaps it simply disregards any plan we might expect it to follow. If it adhered to predictable rules, Ginny and Doug might still be with us today. They were well aware of nature's dangers and took every precaution to steer clear of its risks, yet none of it was enough. Join us as we narrate the harrowing final moments of this couple, whose lives were tragically cut short. Doug Inglis and Ginny Gusse were more than just a couple. They were a team, a pair who'd been glued together since they were teenagers sneaking glances at each other in high school. Now at 62, they'd spent a lifetime side by side, building a home in Lethbridge, Alberta, a quiet city tucked 155 miles south of Calgary. They weren't the type to sit still. Life for them was about chasing the next big adventure, and they found it in the wild open spaces of Canada's national parks. At work, they were a perfect match too. Doug was a lab scientist at Agriculture Canada in Lethbridge, always tinkering with experiments, while Ginny ran the show as the lead technician, keeping everything on track. But their real love wasn't the lab, it was the outdoors. Waterton and Banff National Parks were their escape, their happy place. They'd hiked those trails for years, breathing in the crisp air, marveling at the jagged mountains and glassy lakes. With their border collie Tris trotting alongside, they felt unstoppable. This time, they picked Banff for a camping trip. It was late September, the air cool and sharp, the leaves turning gold against the towering Rockies. Banff was special to them, a wild, beautiful sprawl of nature that made their hearts race. They'd been there so many times before, pitching tents, cooking over a fire, laughing under the stars. It was supposed to be another perfect getaway, but this trip holds more than that. They set up camp in the Red Deer River Valley, a remote spot deep in the backcountry. It was a permitted area, no bear warnings posted, nothing to hint at trouble. Parks Canada said everything was fine, and Doug and Ginny trusted that. They were careful, experienced campers who knew the rules. With Tris curled up nearby, they felt safe, like always. To stay connected, they carried a Garmin inReach device, a little gadget that let them send messages to the outside world. Every day they pinged Doug's uncle, Colin Inglis, with updates. Made it to the ridge today, or Tris chased a squirrel again. Simple stuff, just to let Colin know they were okay. It was also their safety net, a way to call for help if things went wrong, but they never thought they'd need it. 5 days into the trip, on a chilly Friday afternoon, they sent Colin a message at 4:52 p.m. "Got delayed, but we're back at camp now," it said. Nothing unusual, just a quick check-in. They'd had a long day hiking, and now they were settling in for the night. Dinner was simple, some soup and bread, eaten inside their tent as the wind rustled outside. Tris snoozed at their feet. It was peaceful, the kind of quiet they lived for. Then, everything changed. At 8:33 p.m., another message buzzed through to Colin. 3 words: "Bear attack bad." That was it. No details, no follow-up, just those 3 words, cold and heavy, lighting up Colin's phone. His stomach dropped. He could picture them out there, Doug with his steady hands, Ginny with her quick thinking, facing something awful. He stared at the screen, heart pounding, hoping for another message. It never came. The Garmin had done more than send a text. It triggered an SOS signal, beaming their location to the satellite company. Colin didn't wait. He called for help. Parks Canada got the alert too, and their wildlife attack team sprang into action. These were people trained for the worst: bear maulings, lost hikers, emergencies in the wild. But Banff wasn't making it easy. The weather had turned sour, thick clouds, gusting winds, and the rugged valley was a beast to navigate. No helicopter could fly in that mess. The team had to go on foot, racing against time through the dark. The team pushed hard, stumbling over rocks and roots, their flashlights cutting through the blackness. It was after midnight when they finally reached the spot. The GPS coordinates led them right to the tent, but what they saw stopped them cold. Doug and Ginny obviously fought for their lives, although no one knows exactly what happened in that tent. Maybe the bear caught a whiff of their food. Maybe it was just bad luck. But something pulled them out into the night. When the team found them later, their boots were still in the tent, neat and dry. Doug and Ginny were outside in their socks, close to each other, not far from the campsite. The ground was wet, the air cold. Whatever happened, it was fast and brutal. Triss didn't make it either. That loyal dog, who'd bounded through the woods with them for years, was gone too. The scene was a punch to the gut. 2 people and their pup, taken by the wilderness they loved so much. The team didn't have time to process it when the grizzly bear, still lingering, burst from the shadows. It charged, teeth bared, forcing them to act. A gunshot rang out, sharp and final. The bear dropped. When the dust settled, they pieced together what they could. Investigation showed the bear was old, a female over 25 years, not tagged or collared like some others in the park. A necropsy later showed she was in rough shape, worn teeth, not much fat on her bones. She wasn't starving, but she wasn't thriving either. Maybe that's why she came too close. Maybe she was desperate. No one could say for sure. Colin Inglis stood at the edge of the wilderness, staring at the crushed remnants of the tent. In the eerie stillness, he could almost imagine Doug and Ginny inside the tent, engaged in their usual evening routine, reading by the dim glow of a headlamp, their loyal dog Triss curled up beside them. But now, only silence remained, punctuated by the distant calls of unseen wildlife. The evidence left behind painted a horrifying picture of the attack. The tent, once a sanctuary, had been torn apart, flattened under the weight of something powerful. An empty canister of bear spray lay nearby, its contents long dissipated into the air, proof that they had fought back against the grizzly that ended their lives. For Colin, the details of that night were impossible to ignore. The struggle had been brutal, extending beyond the tent, their last moments spent in a battle they had no chance of winning. As devastating as the reality was, there was one small comfort. They had died together, just as they had lived. But questions lingered. How had it come to this? Doug and Ginny were not careless campers. They were experienced, knowledgeable, cautious about the dangers that came with trekking deep into bear country. They had followed protocols, taken precautions, and yet none of it had been enough. "You know," Colin murmured, shaking his head, "if they hadn't been delayed, they would have been in a different spot." That single thought haunted him. A delay, something as small as a wrong turn, a moment spent admiring the scenery, or a few extra minutes packing up, had sealed their fate. They had unknowingly set up camp in the path of a predator. There was no clear explanation for why the bear had attacked. Even the wildlife attack response team, skilled in piecing together the puzzle of such events, could only speculate. Was it a defensive attack? A bear startled in the dark? Or was it predatory, an older bear that had learned to see humans as prey? There were no definitive answers, only theories that could never fully explain what had transpired in those final moments. Parks Canada looked into the attack, trying to figure out why it happened. Bear encounters in Banff were rare, only 3 non-fatal ones in the last decade. This wasn't like Bear 148, the famous grizzly shot in 2017 after too many run-ins with people. This bear was a ghost, unknown until that night. The park promised to review safety measures, but for Doug and Ginny, it was too late. Back in civilization, the news of the tragedy spread quickly. The hiking and camping community reeled from the shock. How could something like this happen to 2 seasoned adventurers? Theories and opinions flooded in from every direction. Some blamed the couple for choosing to camp in a known bear habitat. Others questioned whether more could have been done to prevent it. There were those who saw the attack as another example of nature's unpredictability, a brutal, sobering reminder that no matter how much experience one had, the wilderness was never truly under human control. But for those who knew Doug and Ginny personally, the loss was immeasurable. They had spent their lives embracing the wild, not recklessly, but with deep respect and love for its beauty and dangers alike. Their story wasn't one of foolishness or carelessness. It was one of passion, of a life lived in pursuit of something greater than safety or comfort. Colin tried to find solace in that thought. They had died in a place they loved, surrounded by the vast, untamed beauty of Banff. They had faced their fate together, as they had faced every challenge before. Still, the grief remained. There would never be answers, no closure, only the knowledge that nature in all its grandeur and terror had taken them too soon. Their story, though tragic, became a testament to the power and unpredictability of the wild. Doug and Ginny would be remembered not for the way they died, but for the way they lived, chasing adventure, embracing the unknown, and finding beauty in the most remote corners of the world. Be sure to like and subscribe as we have more heart-wrenching stories coming.